Today is July the 3rd, 2022. We're gathered here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where we are honoring the memory of our beloved Aunt Ellen Davenport. You've seen the short film of her artwork, and in the comments of the YouTube post where this is going to be found, you will find her talking about her own life. So we're not going to be spending a lot of time remembering the details of her life, but we're just going to be saying just a couple of words about how much she meant to all of us. She was Owen Goldin, and she was the sister of my father, M. Stuart Goldin, the younger sister. And she lived near us, and we always, we saw her every 2-3 weeks. She would come to the house for dinner often, and it was always a treat to come to visit her in her apartment when she was still single and living in Morton. She always had the best toys. She always had cool things to build and creative toys that were a little unusual. She was a lot of fun, and she was very much full of love. And whenever there were guests at her house, she always had very, very interesting guests, people from around the world, people who were talking about interesting things and had done interesting things. Later, she met Martin Davenport, who they had a wonderful marriage for many, many years. He was a very loving, kind, smart, and gentle man. And we spent many, many family times with him and her. And then later in life, when she became a widow, we continued to spend a lot of time with her. And throughout her life, she continued doing different kinds of artwork, and she was an example to all of us as someone who continued to explore new creative endeavors and continue to push herself, making things of great beauty and great creativity throughout her life. I think that for me, at any rate, she was a real example of how to live a life. And we enjoyed meeting with her and talking with her over the years. So we miss her very, very much. She was probably the first person I knew who fell victim to COVID. So we were not able to have a proper funeral or memorial for her. And so we're doing this today. And Ellen, if you can hear us, we love you, we remember you, and thank you for everything you gave us. Anyone who would like to speak can raise their hand.
Can I pause it?
Hi, I'm Cindy Goldin, and Owen's sister, and my Aunt Ellen Davenport's oldest niece. I think Owen gave a very good outline of her life, and I won't so much go into that as just mention a couple things. One is Owen said that our aunt was an example of how to live life, and I read something on Facebook actually this morning where somebody who was diagnosed with a terminal disease was asked, do you want to run towards life or run away from death? Which are you choosing to do? And I think our aunt was choosing to run towards life. She was very adventurous, traveled well into her 70s all around the world, primarily Europe. And then she had time to be an artist also. I think in France and Italy, she won a fellowship when she was younger. She traveled, she skied, she took educational courses, which is where she met her second husband, Martin Davenport. But the memories that stayed with me the most, and were very vivid to me after she died, were probably the ones in the later years in her life when we would visit her at Riddle Village in Media. And I still have that vision of, she had a pull-out bed in her living room and we would sleep there. And I remember getting up and sitting at her table, and I still see her just coming out with the cups of coffee in the morning. We got her, it was Keurig but she would make her coffee and come down, bring out the cereal, bring out the coffee and the milk. And I just remember really nice breakfast with her. I also remember the trips we would take to Longwood Gardens, and sometimes she'd walk on her own, sometimes we would push her around, but we took her many times to see the flowers, which she really loved, and visiting the Barnes Foundation. And when she turned 90, I think it was, we took her down to Center City, Philadelphia to see the play, How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. So I mostly remember the trips when I was older and able to have the adult conversations with her. She kept her affairs in order up until really the last year of her life. She was financially able to take care of everything. And even when she was moved into the skilled nursing unit, she would get up best she can and practice walking up and down the hall. And the last time I saw her, she had a new boyfriend who would come and wave at her as he was leaving his lunch table. He would wave. She would wave back, which was probably the worst kept secret on the skilled unit. Their little romance was the worst kept secret in the unit. So she enjoyed people and was really full of love up until the very end. Thank you.
So everybody knows that I'm recording this as I'm recovering from COVID, so my voice isn't the way it normally is. So anyway, about Aunt Ellen, she was progressive, artistic, kind, smart, empathic. She was great. I could easily hang out with her and take her places, and us going to places, just the two of us, started when I was very young. She took me to a restaurant with a big old wagon wheel on it, and I had a strawberry parfait. That's what I remember about it. And then she took me to the Nutcracker and said, that ballerina down there, she's the same age as you, playing Clara. And I was like, wow, that would be so cool. But I never studied ballet, really. And I used to take her to Longwood Gardens, and she was just interesting and smart to talk to, and probably understood me better than my own parents did in a lot of ways. So miss her, and she had a great long life, and I was glad to be there for a lot of it.
My name is Miriam Sushman. I'm Owen Goldin's wife. I had the pleasure of meeting Aunt Ellen during the last 20 years of her life in Philadelphia, and we would make trips to Riddle Village. That was very nice, and she came to visit us once, and I really then and now admire her artwork greatly. She was very skilled. She had a classical training at Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. I'm very grateful for the artwork that she did that we have in our home, the oil paintings, because it really adds something to our house. This original work, and it's an oil painting, and she did one of her mother, and I think I admire that when I first met her when she was living in her own home. I didn't think that it would one day wind up in my home, but I'm very grateful for that, and her, she really did have a great talent, and that's about it. And I'm grateful that I have the artwork in her home, and that I had a chance to get to know her. And that's it. We miss her. Okay.
Hello, my name is Camille. Aunt Ellen was my great aunt. As you can see, I'm already emotional, as I always am, but also because I do really miss you, Aunt Ellen, and love you. We're here gathered to share in memories of her. I didn't really get to know Aunt Ellen very well until I was older and living in New York, and would go to visit Aunt Ellen living in Media, Pennsylvania. I would take New Jersey Transit and then the Pennsylvania line, and spend some time in Media, and always really enjoyed my time with her. Getting to know her friends at Riddle Village, going out and doing activities, have fond memories of viewing art with her, and spending time in her apartment, watching old movies. I remember I would lie down on the ground and watch while she'd be in the chair, and I'd fall asleep, of course. And she just always had really funny things to say, really wonderful sense of humor. And as others have shared, a passion for life that was really admirable. So I definitely feel like I was lucky to get to forge that special relationship with her. We'll miss her very much.
Hi, I'm Ruth. I'm Aunt Ellen's great niece. Yeah, we're here today in Milwaukee to remember Aunt Ellen. I'm really glad I could make it and come out. The last time I saw her, I was about to go to Israel actually, and she wanted to see pictures of like how I've been doing and just of like the family and everybody. And she always really had a good sense of family and always cared so much about us, and just as we care about her. And I remember we also traveled a lot to Philadelphia to see her, like a lot of gardens, the museums, and stayed in her apartment, like my mom was saying. And also she did come to Houston for my bat mitzvah, which was really special because I think she was 85 at that time. So it meant a lot that she could come all the way from Philadelphia down to Texas. And yeah, we all really miss her so much.
I got baby Aria here with me. She's 4.5 months old. And, you know, I know that Aunt Ellen never met her, but I know that she would have loved her very much as the youngest member of our family. What? You know, Aunt Ellen was always there. She was always very supportive, always came to important family functions and loved visiting us, you know, as kids. And I'm really grateful and glad that her artwork is still here so we can have things to remember her by, as well as all of the pictures and memories, of course. You say bye? No? Okay.
We're going to do a walkthrough now of the exhibit of Ariane Ellen's artwork at Ovation Galleries in July 2022. Ellen Goldin Davenport had a lifelong devotion to art. As a young woman, she studied painting, Philadelphia Academy of Fine Arts and Art History with Alfred C. Barnes. She became an art teacher for elementary school, but she never gave up her artwork. She worked in several art media and is known for her drawings in charcoal, as seen here, and in her paintings in watercolor and oils. Her subjects varied widely. She focused mainly on portraits in her early years, then shifted to botanical pictures and scenes of the Reading Terminal Market in her later years. And the what you see on the right there is a portrait of her mother, my grandmother, Sarah Goldin. And she apparently sat for art classes at the Academy. And I wish I knew where all the rest of those portraits are. You can see it's a very serious portrait. What we see here is are a number of notebooks and sketchbooks that we have from her, and we're just going to be paging through them a bit. Some are just her practicing various art skills. In some of them, there are some rather full portraits and some rather full watercolors. So this will give you a sense of how she would spend her days developing her art. My sister Cindy has noticed that one of the portraits is actually a study for one of the fuller paintings that she has done. That looks like a Reading Terminal Market picture there, as well as the one before it. She did do some very, very beautiful botanicals, and she always was very, very skilled at capturing the soul of the people for whom she painted the portraits. With a few quick lines, I think she could really capture who people were. And she didn't care for abstract art too much, but I can see here in these notebooks she tried her hand at it, but that was not her own taste. And so what we're going to be seeing in a couple of minutes are going to be her some theater wardrobe sketches for two plays. The first is She Stoops to Conquer by Oliver Goldsmith, the second being The Miser by Moliere. Both very funny comedies. The Goldsmith is probably much more contemporary. It feels like it's a bit of a sitcom. It's actually a really funny play. I'm not sure who she did these for, but I can tell you that she told me that when she was very young, she was very popular in her neighborhood as a child because she would make paper dolls and paper doll dresses for her friends. And so that talent and that passion continued as she developed these theater sketches. And the curator of this exhibit, Randy Crosby, thought that it would make a strong exhibit to feature those. So you can see that she would often, with her art clubs or as a student, have models, and she would practice her draftsmanship skills by catching the main lines of the human body by looking at these models. So we're going to be moving now to the theater pieces. But before we do so, here's a portrait. These two oil paintings have other portraits on the other sides. These are the ones that my wife, Mary Sushman, chose, in her view, being the strongest. She did portraits to make a little money in the 1940s. We don't know who these people are. So we're going to be looking at a number of these pieces now, and we're going to be catching who the characters are. We're going to start from the top, then we're going to go to the bottom. That's Valère in Moliere's play. We'll be talking about him in a minute. We're starting with the Oliver Goldsmith. The heroine of this play, Kate Hesslinger, is the one who stoops to conquer, because the hero of the play is very, very familiar and quite a ladies' man with low-class ladies, but is much more shy with an upper-class lady. So the whole idea is that Kate Hesslinger stoops to conquer. That is Mr. Hastings, who is a family friend who also has romantic interest in the play. Tony Lumpkin is a kind of a low-class character, kind of a joker in the play. That's Mrs. Hardcastle, and Mrs. Hardcastle is the father of the young lady who is very upset that her niece is about to elope. Mr. Hardcastle is her husband. He's a bit of a fool, kind of pompous, but a kindly man. That's Miss Neville. She's the niece who wants to elope with the other fellow, who ends up actually trying to steal some stuff to elope with her. And then this here is Mr. Marlowe. He is the fellow who, when he's with a high-class woman of his class, he looks at his shoes, he mumbles, but this is in fact Miss Hardcastle when she's the high-class lady that he is totally unable to woo. But when she pretends to be a barmaid, then of course the romance comes together. These are from Moliere's The Miser, where the fundamental idea of the story is that you've got a miser. That's his servant Jock, but the miser wants to marry a young woman who is, of course, repelled by the 60-year-old man. that is Marianne. She is the heroine of the play, and she wants to marry the dashing young man who is the son of the miser. And so you can imagine the complications here. That's La Flèche. He is a servant who ends up, of course, stealing some jewels to help with another romance in the play. Elise is the daughter of the miser. There's the miser himself, Harpagon. He's very, very upset because he's had his treasure chest with all of the coins stolen. Frosine is the matchmaker, as it were, and she is bringing together the old man and the young woman. Valère, I forget who he is. But there is that gives you a fundamental idea of the plot of the play and who these characters are. And then moving on, we are going to see another portrait. We don't know who this is, but it's a very powerful portrait of a serious young woman. So I really appreciate the way Aunt Ellen is able to